boys and girls, it's Miss Rossi. Today we're going to continue working with line as we make a line collage. What you will be needing today is the packet from your art folder that says either line collage or line cutting. You don't need that label, so you can put that to the side. It should have a black piece of paper that has lines drawn on it and a plain white piece of paper. You're also going to need something to color with. Today, I'm going to use some washable markers and some water to create some watercolor paint on my paper, but you can use whatever you have at home to color with. All I'm going to be needing today is my white piece of paper, and I'm going to set this black paper aside for next time. Now, what we're creating today is the background for our line collage. Now, we want to make a nice bright and colorful background, so I'm going to use all different colors and let them blend together on my paper. If you're going to be painting like me, you might want to put down some newspaper or something underneath your paper to protect your table. Once you are ready, we can get started. Now, last week we made a line sculpture where we folded paper to create different kinds of lines, and we showed wavy lines, straight lines, zigzag lines, all different kinds of lines to build our sculpture. Now today with our collage, we're going to show some different kinds of lines that we're going to cut out of our paper and glue down. Now this is going to be our background, so this is going to be the piece of paper that we're gluing onto, so we want it to look nice and colorful and to not really have any white space. So with my markers today, I'm going to pick out a few colors. I think I'm going to stick with red, yellow, and my two different blues to do my background, but you can use whatever colors you would like. And I'm going to be creating different colored sections of my background paper using lines. So I'm going to start off by drawing a straight line with my first marker all the way from one edge of my paper to the other. It does not have to be perfect. So a straight line can go vertical, meaning it can go up and down, or it can go horizontal, meaning it can go left and right. So this line that I just drew is a horizontal line. And I'm going to fill in my horizontal line by coloring back and forth with my red marker, so I get a big stripe of red. Now, since I am painting on top of this, if I am coloring and I leave little spaces of white, that is okay, because once I add my water, all of that space is going to blend together. But if you are not using water to transform your markers into paint today, then you're going to want to fill in that section fully so there are no little white spaces. That's going to look good. If you don't have markers, you can always use crayons or colored pencils. Just again, make sure you're filling in that space so it is fully colored in and there aren't any white spaces. Now the next kind of line I'm going to draw is our wavy line. So we made a wavy line when we did our line sculpture by gluing down the ends and then gluing down the middle. A wavy line reminds us of things like the ocean and any kind of water, really, because it looks like it's splashing around. So I'm doing the same thing where I'm just going to fill this in, making sure I'm filling in from the line that I drew all the way up to my first line. And now the next line I'm going to draw is going to be a zigzag line. So that is like our wavy line, except it has these big points, almost like mountains. So it's going up and down, meeting at points. Now I'm going to fill this one in. Now my next line that I'm going to draw, I like to call a castle line because it reminds me of the top of a castle. So to create this line, I go starting from one edge of my paper, I make a horizontal straight line. So that means it's going left to right. Then I'm going to go up towards the top of my page, back across, and then back down. So I'm almost creating like a rectangle. And then I'm going to do it again. So over, up, across, back down. Over, up, across, back down. Over, up, across, back down. And that line is mixing our horizontal and our vertical lines. I'm going to do a dashed line next. Now a dashed line is a line that is like a straight line, except it's going to be broken. So I'm only going to do little sections of a horizontal line, so small pieces of a line going left to right all the way across. This kind of looks like the lines you see painted in the street when your parents are driving you somewhere. And as I'm coloring this one, I'm going to leave some gaps in between, so I'm only filling in that dashed section. And so I don't leave any white space in between those dashed sections. I'm going to put some yellow just to fill that space in. And now in my last smaller section down here, I'm going to do a diagonal line. And a diagonal line is like our straight line, except it is going on an angle. So my diagonal line is going to go from this corner all the way up until this corner. So I'm going to put a dot in each spot so I know where it's going. It might help you to turn your paper. And I'm just going to connect that two sections there so I have a diagonal line, and that kind of splits something on an angle. And I'm going to fill in this top section with my light blue, and I'll fill in that bottom section with my dark blue. Now that my paper is fully colored in, I can put my markers to the side and I can grab my paintbrush and my water. So now I'm going to turn my marker into paint. So I used a washable marker because when I add water to it, those colors are going to start to spread and mix together. So I'm just going to wet my paintbrush, wipe off the edge so it doesn't drip all over the table, and then I can just start to paint right on the top of my marker. And now you can see that it's already starting to fill in those white spaces that I left. And then I'm going back and adding a little bit of water each time once I notice my brush is getting too dry. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to fill in those little white gaps. And now we can see that those are getting nice and full and that top section is fully red. Now I'm going to start to blend my colors together. So now if I go in between my red and my yellow with my water, I can see those colors are starting to mix. So now I'm getting a little bit of orange here at the top. So I'm still adding more water, filling this space in so I can fill up all of those little white spots that I saw, and then blending together my two colors. So now we know red and yellow, when they're mixed together, they make orange. What colors did you use on your paper? Did they start to mix together and make a new color? So I'm just going to go down across my whole paper slowly with my water and filling in those white spaces by letting my original color blend in and also letting my colors mix together. And now you don't want to get it too wet in one spot and keep rubbing with your paintbrush, or you might get a hole in your paper, so you want to be careful. Now I'm going to go in my blue section, and I can see my blue is starting to spread and fill in those white spaces. And now I can see my blue is starting to mix with my yellow too, and I'm getting a new color there. Can you guys see what color that is? Yeah, that's right, it's turning green. So now I can keep mixing some water into my blue to fill in those little white gaps, and I can mix it up into my yellow to make my green. Now I'm going to go into my darker blue section, and I'm doing that same thing. So I'm placing some water in the middle of that line section that I drew and letting those white spaces get filled in with some of that color, and then I'm spreading it up into my other section. So now that I'm spreading it up into my lighter blue, I can see I'm just kind of making a new blue color, because mixing a light blue and a dark blue is still going to leave us with blue. Now I'm going to go into that next section with my red and yellow, and we already know what red and yellow made because we mixed those together up at the top. So now those middle sections of my dashed line here where my yellow was are going to turn orange. And I can also mix together where these lines meet. And let's see if we can see what color we're going to get. Oh, I see it. It's starting to turn purple where my red is mixing with my dark blue. Let's see what happens down here. I'm getting a little bit of orange from my red and my yellow, but I'm also getting a little bit of purple from that red and blue, and a very tiny amount of green where my yellow touched my blue. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I see the green there. I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera. And now I'm going to move down to that final bottom section where I had my light blue and my dark blue diagonal lines. And that is my background painting all finished. My paper is very wet, so I'm going to let it sit here and dry until I put it back in my art folder. So next time we're going to practice cutting some lines. So you're going to be needing some scissors. You're also going to need a white crayon or white colored pencil and a glue stick. But until then, I'm going to let this dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to put it back in my art folder with my black paper so I don't lose it. And we'll finish this up next week. This week, you do not have to send in a picture of your project because we are going to be finishing it next time. So once you're done with your painting and you let it dry, then you are all good. And I'll see you next time. Try your best, have fun, and get creative. Bye!